It's time for the Access of Easy podcast, the weekly technology digest that keeps you ahead of the curve. Brought to you by EasyDNS.com.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Access of Easy podcast. This is number 398, the latest and greatest in data breaching and overreaching. My name is Joey. That's Len. What's going on, buddy?
I'm still reeling from the results from last Monday. Still trying to digest what's taken place.
It wasn't last Monday. It was 3 days ago. Time is already warped in your mind.
That was last Monday.
Is that? Wait a minute.
That was the Monday that just passed. The last one.
Wait a minute. We got to talk here about some syntax. When I say next Friday, does that to you mean tomorrow?
Yes.
No, it's next week's Friday. Monday would be last week's Monday.
In programming, next is the next thing.
I know, but think about it's actually, if you say last or next, all you're leaving out is the word week.
Correct.
So like last Monday is last week's Monday. You just don't say last week's Monday. You say last Monday.
If I say last, the way I look at it,
this is huge. This is going to be the first Access of Easy public poll. What does it mean when someone says next Friday and it's Thursday? Does it mean tomorrow or does it mean 8 days from now?
No, it's Friday next week. And whoever says anything, people will have opinions on this, but the reality is they could say when I'm right or they could say I'm wrong, and those people are saying I'm wrong. They're wrong themselves. So they just go F themselves. I'm kidding.
No, absolutely ruthless. Let's do the quote from last week. Let's see, what is it here? We do not see people as they are, but as they appear to us. And these appearances are usually misleading. That was from Robert Greene. Joe got it. Congratulations. Robert Greene wrote the 48 Laws of Power. I think that's the author of that book. And then this week's quote,
to Mean Joe.
Not related to Mean Joe Green, no. And then this week's quote: I do not believe in a fate that will fall on us no matter what we do. I do believe in a fate that will fall on us if we do nothing. If you know who that's by, put it in the comments. You can only look in old doctor's office magazines for the answer. There's no Google searching. SI, you can look too. Yeah, for sure.
Could be Kevin Green.
Could be, you never know. You can check Rick Riley's last page article if you want for the answer, but that's the only place you can look. Put it in the comments if you know, and you get your next renewal on EasyDNS. Where do you want to start here? Mark added a story late about the Elections Canada website. Do you want to start with that or finish with that?
We'll finish with that one.
Okay.
I don't know if there's really much to say about it aside from what's happened, but this TLS certificate story is the one that I want to lead off with, and it's the CA Browser Forum, because they have voted to reduce the maximum lifetime of the TLS certificates to 47 days. And the TLS is the Transport Layer Security Certificates. And these ensure privacy, private communication, security, verifying the website's authenticity, stuff like that. And the CA Browser Forum, that's the Certification Authority Browser Forum, and it's a voluntary consortium, and it includes vendors of web browsers, email operating systems, stuff like that. So you could kind of figure who's involved with this. Well, they're trying to set up the industry guidelines for governing the issuance of these digital certificates and the management of them. And that's the whole crux of this TLS certificate thing. And right now, the maximum validity date for this, the duration which they could be authorized and valid, is 398 days. But they're going to be reducing this down to ultimately 47 days. This is going to be a scaled back. March next year, it's going to be 200 days. 2027 March will be 100 days. And ultimately, 2029 March will be 47 days. And this is going to create some technical and administrative burdens for some people out there that have limited resources. However, did some digging here. Apparently, the majority of these certificates right now, they are valid for around 90 days or less. So they are more than compliant for what's going to be next year's change and a year after that. 47 days is about roughly half of what most of these certificates are right now. Furthermore, did some more digging into this. March 2023, Google wanted to reduce this to 90 days. Then in January 2025, Apple wanted to reduce this to 47 days. So there's been a strong push by these big players to reduce it. And this, they say, is going to provide more security, more safety, and less likely of getting attacked.
What does that tell you? What does that tell you? It's a known vulnerability, right?
Correct, because they could be mismanaged, misissued, all kinds of different ways. And once you have it valid for up to 398 days, which is the maximum right now, but they could be 90 days. It seems to be that's the validity that the people tend to use. But still, that's a long time that this could be mismanaged and misused.
What's the fix besides the timeline change? You'd have to have a database, I guess, of these things. So you'd have rolling expiration dates. You'd know when they were expiring. But like that's archaic. You know, the solution is to really cut down the validity time, like you were mentioning.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah, there's no other. There's really no other. There's not much to say about this story. There's no other fix. It has
got to be
done.
automated. It can't be done manually, just because now it's going to be so burdensome to do so.
Yeah.
So yeah,
hard to believe this is like something like that is going on. I don't know enough about TLS certificates to know how many other places you see stuff like that, but it seems like one of the things I'm always surprised by doing this show is when we read the stories, the answers and the fixes seem obvious, right? But they're never obvious to the people who get attacked or whose vulnerability gets exposed or whatever until it's too late. It makes me think that it actually was obvious and they just chose not to do it, right? Kicking the can down the road or something, but bizarre, very bizarre. Anyway, where do you want to go next?
DAZN. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did. DAZN, yep.
Yeah. Okay, well, apparently there's a decision by Cisco's OpenDNS, and it's going to be ceasing operations within the country of Belgium. This is following a court order, and it's going to be targeting specific DNS providers, including OpenDNS, Cloudflare. Cloudflare has been in the news quite a bit these days. Google, and they're demanding they're going to be blocking access to 100 pirate websites, and those predominantly that are sporting. They're targeting specifically, it looks like, the Belgian Premier League, their first-class soccer league they have over there, and they want to ensure that this is not being pirated and streamed in areas that are not supposed to receive it. And the cable providers and the ones that are providing the service of watching it, they get their fair share. So that's what they're trying to do. This all boils down to is it's like a freedom type thing. Do you want to watch something? If you do you have the ability to do it? Do you have to pay somebody to watch this?
It's not about paying somebody. It's about paying somebody that's allowed to give it to you, right? Like it's so restrictive. But
there could be blackouts then, and then there could be restrictions, and then it becomes a real problem.
I agree. Yeah.
And that the consumer, the end result, they aren't able to get it, and it's no fault of their own. It's just sometimes they black things out just because, well, the owners decided to do this. It's happened a lot in the NFL. This happens a lot anywhere. So it's kind of pretty, in my opinion, crap. But you know what? You're going to get around this. Well, there's going to be ways around this. This is going to be, they'll put court orders, they'll stop this, but still, I suspect there's going to be through VPNs and through tunneling of information through different ways. This stuff is going to get out. There's no way to truly stop it. Maybe DAZN's pretty big, right? Like, do you allegedly know somebody that may be a subscriber to DAZN?
DAZN is not illegal. DAZN is a legal service. So you can pay about $40 a month during the NFL season and get a DAZN subscription. And most NFL fans like DAZN because it's reliable, it's high quality, and it works basically with anything, right? There's a TV app, there's a Fire Stick app, there's probably a Chromecast app, there's you can stream it on your laptop, whatever. The beef that I have with this is really that DAZN was originally the disruptor. 7, 8, 9 years ago, DAZN was the one who was coming in and causing trouble for cable companies who were selling Red Zone and NFL Ticket and all these things. And DAZN just was persistent and said, we're going to stick around. We have a better service, a better price, and it's more flexible than the cable packages that are overstuffed with, quote unquote entertainment channels that no one watches. And we're going to get this done. And they did. Now DAZN is trying to pull up the ladder on these IPTV services, legal or otherwise, because they know that they don't have a good product. DAZN's product has gone up in price every year. It doesn't really add any value. They don't add any sporting events that are actually worthwhile, at least to the North American viewers. There's some boxing, some soccer. There's no hockey, no basketball, none of the North American Big Four on DAZN. So I do hope people get around this. I want IPTV to become the norm, and I want IPTV to force cable companies to drop their prices and give people more flexibility in their packages, which is one thing they have simply not done here or in the United States.
Are we better off now than we were a few years ago? Or we just
I have friends who have an incredible IPTV service that costs about $17 a month, has every channel, including DAZN, and it's payable in Bitcoin only. It's fantastic. And so if you can get that service, then why would you ever pay for one of these? You'd be nuts.
Are you aware if that's for like multiple TVs, or is that just
two TVs?
That's not a bad. I mean, that's
4K sports, 4K news, everything that you can get on 4K on your Bell box, you can get on 4K here, and it's all included. Nothing to it. It's really easy to use. Piece of cake, honestly. Allegedly, yeah. My friend says it's a piece of cake.
Do those people get CBC?
They do get CBC and CBC News Network. There's 2 CBCs. Did you know that? I always thought CBC News was just the CBC during the day, but it turns out there's actually 2 channels. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know what they call it? You know what the ticker symbol is on the bottom?
For CBC News?
Yeah.
CBCN, right?
CBCNN. They're not even trying. Unreal.
That's great stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's move on. So Google's email infrastructure this recently was spoofed through a DKIM, that's domain keys identified mail relay attack.
Should have had domain, sure. Should have had domain.
Yeah. The malicious actors were able to send emails that appeared to be originally coming from Google, and it was bypassing standard email authentication checks. And DKIM is an email authentication standard that adds a digital signature to outgoing mails. So then receiving mail servers, they could verify the signature using the sender's public key. This is a lot like Bitcoin, right?
Sounds familiar.
And they could check, this is published in DNS records, and they could confirm that the email hasn't been tampered with and originates from the claimed domain. So the core of this issue stems from Google's handling of the DKIM signatures in specific scenarios. Most specifically, this comes from involving mailing lists or forwarding services. Google's system sometimes would allow re-signing emails that already have a valid DKIM signature.
That's nuts. That is nuts. That's allowed. Yeah.
So this attack, how is it done? Well, an attacker would first send an email from a domain that they control, like domain A, and through a Google service like Google Groups or a forwarding rule to an address they already control. And then Google system would simply process the email, and due to the vulnerability, they add their own DKIM signature to that. And the attacker simply would then double sign the email. And there you go. Double signatures and double spend, right? In Bitcoin, pretty bad. And also in email world, it's pretty bad. So yeah, this is pretty funny stuff. And so Google, they're going to have to modify their email systems moving forward to prevent this type of crap from happening moving forward. And also, there's also changes that should be coming up. Enhanced filtering is suggested, and furthermore, awareness for the end user, because this is a very sophisticated spoofing attack, and even from trusted domains, at least appears so. Like, it's kind of hard to like truly be totally educated on this, but people should be aware of it.
Gmail, Yahoo, Microsoft, and Apple all recommend or require marketing and bulk senders to support one-click unsubscribes via headers, not just links inside the email body. This feature enables email clients to display a native unsubscribe button next to sender interface. To comply, 2 headers must be included. There's some stuff in here in this portion that kind of it'll kind of give you an insight into how this kind of stuff happens. We talk about how DomainSure has this feature where you can't get spoofed by similar emails, similar domain suffixes and stuff like that if you pay for the service from EasyDNS. This is, I mean, not to say that EasyDNS is picking low-hanging fruit, far from it, but this is an obvious, yet again, another obvious thing that should have been picked up by these major players and just wasn't. They just didn't secure their service the way they should have secured it. And it really is like, you know, if you're still using Gmail, you're still using these services, I just want to know why. You know, how many vulnerability inroads did you mention there? You said Google Groups was one. What was the other one? These are commonly used things. Like, a lot of people use these services still against sort of commonly understood, popular services out there, Google Groups is still widely used. If you're on Google, then you're going to find yourself in these services more than you think, and you're up for grabs. You're a target. It's plain and simple.
It was so easy to just sign up back in the day for a Gmail account.
Yeah.
Now it's more difficult.
Yeah.
I think that now they have to have a telephone number that you have to confirm. So
yes.
So yeah, that's why it was, back in the day, it was wonderful, just easy to spin up and whatever. Let's go to Texas. That is Texas bill that's been proposed by a Texas state representative. This is nuts.
Are we going to rate the name? Dade Phelan? His name is Phelan. Come on. Are we going to do it? His name's, come on. That's got to be Gaelic, right? Phelan?
But you know what's fun? I don't want to say funny. He's a Republican.
Why is it?
Right?
Why is that surprising to you? Remember, we talked about who introduced the online porno ID bill here in Canada.
That's Canada. I mean,
still the concern, Len. It's global homogeneity everywhere you look. Everyone is moving the same direction, different speeds, different avenues, but the direction is the same. It is identifying people who are saying stuff that endangers the regime. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
I just don't
Trump
expect
too. Trump is in the same boat. They're all going down this road slowly but surely.
You don't expect this from somebody from a Republican Party in Texas.
Not even from Senator
Phelan
or whatever the guy's name is, Representative Phelan.
He wants to put a heavy-handed response for those people who share memes online that do not have government approval. Right?
You have to check with the government before you make fun of them on the internet.
Yeah, check the repository of all the government-approved memes before you're able to submit this. This is House Bill 366. It's the name of it, relating to required disclosure on certain political advertising that contains altered media, creating a criminal offense. That's the text of this bill. And if found wrong, people could go to jail up to 1 year for this, just for sharing a meme that is not government approved. And they say they're going to be targeting people who post an image, audio recording, or video recording of an office holder's or candidate's appearance, speech, or conduct did not occur in reality. So essentially, even somebody running for office, you can't put a meme out there. Texas, I expect this from the UK.
Yeah.
Right? This is the kind of stuff. If this story came out and it was a UK bill proposed by somebody over there, I would just, it wouldn't knock me over, or just whatever, another day, another dollar. But from Texas, what the heck's going on?
It is, Len, I'm telling you, man, it's going to become more and more common. I am dying to see not to bring it back to Canada. We'll talk about Canada obviously in a second for a different reason, but I'm dying to see what the Liberal government does here with misinformation and disinformation with this, kind of fun team majority they have with the NDP. I am very interested in seeing what they're able to pull off, because I think that there's a lot of momentum behind these things in political circles, and politicians famously thin-skinned, I think a lot of people are going to hate this. And this is really focusing on AI memes by the sounds of it, right? Things that didn't occur in reality. So AI is popular. We use AI all the time on CBP, right? There's pictures of Carney and Polyev in boxing rings and coliseums and, God knows where else floating around out there. Are they going to be illegal in Texas to make those kind of memes about U.S. politicians? If this guy gets his way, then yeah. Sad state of affairs, buddy. Sad state of affairs. How is this going to affect the AI stock and equity bubble? What are we? This gonna drop some valuations or what? I don't know.
Buckle up, buddy. Buckle up. Remember Trudeau went in the boxing ring and he fought Brazeau, I think was his name.
But we don't need AI for that. There's a lot of good shots of him getting his lip touched by the other guy's glove during that little sparring match.
Trudeau won.
He did, but he got hit a couple times pretty good.
Yeah, I got to give him credit. He stepped in the ring, and
look, Trudeau is a lot of things, but he's not physically. He's no slouch. He's in pretty good shape. I'm not sure about his boxing technique, but there's a million other guys I'd rather fight besides Trudeau. That's for sure.
Yeah. So let's go talk about Apple, because they've been notifying folks in around 100 countries out there that their iPhones could be individually targeted by a mercenary spyware attack. And these attacks could be associated with their Apple accounts. As for the people that are being potentially targeted, Apple believes they are specifically targeted because of what they do or who they are. So,
Podcasters in danger? TBD?
Sorry?
Podcasters in danger? TBD?
Maybe. Only 50% of us would be subjected to
yeah,
this.
that's true. Yeah, fair.
So journalists, politicians, diplomats, activists, stuff like that are the ones that potentially may be targeted. And Apple's expressing with quote unquote high confidence in this warning, and they're urging recipients to take this thing very seriously, this type of action very seriously. And this isn't the first time that Apple has been doing this. Since 2021, Apple has sent these alerts to people in over 150 countries. So they take this stuff very seriously, and they try to alert people before anything comes up that could really, really damage them. Because there's an initial report out there that shows that there's an Italian journalist and a Dutch activist that were receiving notifications in their iMessage and emails that may lead them to believe that they're being spied on through some mercenary spyware. So Apple recommends the following. One, to enable lockdown mode, and that significantly reduces the device's functionality to a potential surface attack. Keep the phone up to date. This is a no-brainer, but I'm pretty sure all phones out there just do the auto updates, and it's not much you could really do. It's pretty done. Do it myself for the most part. This is one that people should always do: is avoid clicking links they don't really understand from unknown sources or unexpected senders. And they just be very careful out there. It's like if you're if you are an activist, you potentially could be targeted. What could you do?
Listen, we need to read this part of the article, okay? I have questions for you. In Cancelado's case, according to WhatsApp, the spyware was made by Paragon Solutions, an Israeli company. Len, why does our greatest ally continue to allow its spyware to be deployed against American and international activists, journalists, politicians? It's always an Israeli company. Do you notice this?
It's off the shelf. You could just go to your local Staples.
Israeli Tire out there. Yeah.
And then you're good to go.
Someone told me that Canadian Tire should be renamed the store that has everything you didn't know you needed.
Never buy stuff from Canadian Tire that's not on sale.
Noted. Okay,
always
good advice here.
This will get you ahead in life. Elections Canada should be following this advice too, because you know what? Let's talk about what's going on there. Look, we had an election in Canada. It was a high-profile election. Almost 69% of individuals voted. That's the largest since 2015. And while through all this, Elections Canada website, and that's the website people go to figure out where they're going to vote. I know they've been mailed a card, but sometimes they lose the card or they forget where it is or what's on it and whatever. So they go to the website. But the website, the Elections Canada website, on the day of the election, on the evening, 7 p.m. Eastern, was suffering from problems. And they say that they have informed electors on their social media platforms how to find their assigned polling station. So you had to go on X or on Facebook or whatever and to try to reach out to them, and they would probably reply back to you saying where it is you could vote. They say it's not a security-related incident, but still, the timing of this is tough to swallow, right?
Considering can't say it out loud, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, it's interesting at the very least.
Yeah, I have nothing to add to that. It's interesting in the very least, as you mentioned.
And that's it.
Great. Good rep today. That was your weekly Access of Easy. Don't forget, subscribe to the newsletter, accessofeasy.com, and the podcast and the YouTube channel, where we're covering usually somewhere between 4 and 6 of the leading stories of the week. And then there's a handful more in the newsletter for you to read and dig into. So do all that stuff. And until next week, take care of yourselves.
Take care.